All right, we ready? Good evening. Time is 7 o'clock. It is April the 11th, 2023. We're in the General Township Hall. Agenda items for this evening for the Zoning Commission, zoning case 2022-06, Romanelli and Hughes, the fourth meeting and the election of officers. Staff present this evening, Joe Schaefer, Director of Development and Zoning, and Paul Benson, the Deputy Zoning Director. Roll call, Mr. Schaefer.
Roll call, Mr. Bernert.
Present.
Mr. Carter.
Present.
Mr. Leff.
Here.
Mr. Sears.
Here.
Mr. Wester.
Present.
I'm going to note Mr. Welch and Ms. Walsh are both absent this evening. They did inform us that they would not be in attendance.
All right, statement of policy. This meeting may be recorded. Such recordings are public record and may be posted online and could be subject to review in court. As is the adopted policy of the Zoning Commission, all applicants will be granted an opportunity to make their formal presentation. The audience may then be granted an opportunity to comment, followed by the applicant's response and questions from the commission. The chairperson may limit repetitive debate and reserves the following rights: to limit comment to items on the agenda, to limit public comment to 5 minutes per person, to restrict the number of times a member of the public is permitted to speak, and to enact any other reasonable ad hoc protocols and measures necessary to maintain a fair, safe, and orderly meeting. This policy was adopted by the commission to provide for the respectful, constructive, and efficient discussion of business scheduled for consideration and to allow for the proper due process as required by law. First item this evening are the meeting minutes from the March 13th meeting. Any comments, questions, or a motion? We'll look to the side for a motion.
Move to approve the March 13, 2023 minute meetings as presented. No amendments?
I second.
Second, discussion, comments? Roll.
Bernert.
Yes.
Mr. Carter.
Yes.
Mr. Sears.
Yes.
Mr. Wester.
Yes.
Mr. Leff.
Yes. All right, approved minutes. That'll bring us to 7:02 PM. Romanelli and Hughes Building Company requesting approval of a rezoning and preliminary development plan to construct 185 single-family dwellings on approximately 130.15 acres, generally located west of Rome Corners Road, including 3570 Rome Corners Road, PIN 317-210-050-03000, 3774 Rome Corners Road, PIN 317-210-005-008-000, and 317-210-050-09000, 3912 Rome Corners Road, PIN 317-210-050-09001, and 3990 Rome Corners Road, PIN 317-210-050-1000. Currently zoned rural residential, RR, seeking rezoning to planned residential district, PRD, also known as Mariluna, zoning case number 2022-06. This is the continued meeting from January 17th, 2023. Following exhibits were added or amended. Exhibit H, all public comments received between September 16th, 2022 and April 11th of 2023. Mr. Schaefer, do you want to make a comment there before we
Yes,
make the
sir.
motion?
So, as you probably recall, Commission, I emailed out shortly after the March 13th meeting that the applicant has once again requested a continuance. They informed me that they're going to have to make some further revisions to meet the requirements of the Delaware County Engineer and Delaware County Regional Planning Commission. So they've asked for another continuance to the May 8th meeting. Pursuant to your calendar, revisions for the May 8th meeting would be due next week, April 18th, 4 p.m. at the Genoa Township Zoning Office. So I have nothing else to present to you this evening other than that request.
So, a continuance motion?
Yes, please.
I move to continue the public hearing for the subject application known as Miramar Zoning Commission case number 2022-06 until May 8th at 7 o'clock p.m. In the Genoa Township Hall. Additional revised materials will be due to the Genoa Township Development and Zoning Department by, I believe you said April 18th, 2023 at 4 o'clock p.m.
I second.
Discussion? Roll.
Roll call, Mr. Bernert.
Yes.
Mr. Carter.
Yes.
Mr. Sears.
Yes.
Mr. Wester.
Yes.
Mr. Leff.
Yes. Motion passes. That concludes that part of the hearing at 7:04 p.m. Soon as we originally had planned to do the election of officers this evening, but since two of the regular city members are not here, suggest that we hold that off until the beginning of the next meeting.
Good idea, I think.
Okay, everybody's good. Mr. Schaefer, do you have anything else at this moment before I open it up to public?
Just the rules of procedure that I sent out. I don't know if you want to discuss. You all have printed copies in
Okay.
front of you.
Was it,
Yes, sir.
we're going to discuss it?
Yep.
Sure.
Discuss it.
As Dave was reading the statement of policy, it says may be posted online, and I noticed you took that out. Because I said, oh yeah, under statement of policy, it talks about what Dave just read, and I just said, why was "and posted online" taken out? Because, and then I just happened to notice it was put here, so I guess if we vote this changes in, then that would change. But I think later you refer to something else because it generally is either posted online on genoatwp.com, I would guess.
I think we're still going to post everything online. I think I just removed that as an effort I was trying to reduce some of the wordiness of the statement of policy. It tends to ramble a little bit, and I wrote it, so I can say that. Of course, in trying to make it less wordy, I then drafted a whole bunch of new words for it. So I meant to put a note in there that I felt like that statement of policy might be something the commission wants to discuss to see, because there's a lot of good information in there, especially to convey to the public and set sort of the ground rules for each of the meetings, but to the same degree, especially, as the chair has to read it, it can be a lot to read, so.
But we're gonna, posting stuff online for the public's a good thing, obviously. I
Yes.
assume we tend to do it, just like we always have.
We pretty much are doing that with all the public records now, so it's almost,
Because it said may be posted online, and maybe that's just so in case you don't, you're not held accountable.
correct.
Because maybe something's not necessary.
But we're
maybe-
moving to posting the vast majority of the zoning records online. We're doing a lot of catch-up, but we have like a new searchable document management database. The minutes get posted online, the audio on the YouTube channel, so it almost has gotten to the point where it's like unnecessary to say, because it's almost just a known fact that it's probably going to be online.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine with me. I just noticed that, and I'd written
Yeah.
down a note on it, too. Records request. Just for the other members, I don't know if you've ever gotten a public records request for your notes, but besides from lawyers, the individual people in the public also request notes sometimes. I had, a couple months ago, I had anything dealing with a certain development requested by a private individual. Just so you know, there is a schedule of record keeping that you might want to look at, and I have to double check, but you don't have to keep your notes. You can toss them when you're done. But, you are subject to records requests if you have anything, and they can request, like with the legal thing, texts and emails and all that, and that's
Absolutely.
up to you what you do.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'll make a note that I probably need to email the records retention schedule out. We've got a new member, and it's never a bad idea to send you the latest copy and make sure you've reviewed it. And if you have any questions, you can let me know.
So I want to go back to Jim's original comment about posted online.
Mhm.
It's a good comment. Do we need to put something in there about where to find something? I know in the board of the trustees meeting, they talk about being found on genoa.twp.
I like that better because it gives you a location.
So if we want to match that, I think that's a good comment. So,
We can just leave it, we could just basically make it plural again, because technically there's two recordings, the audio recording and the video recording.
right, but do we want to more mirror the board, what they say on there, or?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong if we want to just put the maybe posted online back in, we absolutely can do that.
What's the Board of Zoning Appeals doing?
Paul, do they even have a statement of policy currently? They're a little bit behind you on your rules of procedure. They're actually waiting to see what you do, and are probably going to then look at updating
Maybe nice
theirs.
to say maybe even post it on the township's website, because online's pretty
Yeah.
broad.
Yeah, we can put,
like that.
is a
So-
pub, and may be posted on the township's website?
Yeah, just in case.
Yeah, we can do that. We'll put that back in.
The BZA does read a statement beforehand. It basically just lays out the order of things. So it basically just says, the staff is going to talk, applicant's going to speak, public's going to speak, then the board is going to speak. And that's their whole statement.
So theirs is more focused on procedure. I'm fine putting that back in. I was just trying to eliminate words, but if you want it in there, we'll have it in
I
there.
think it's a good idea to have it in there. It points people in the right direction, and at
Sure.
least they can,
Yep.
I mean, if they're listening to me read it, then they found it, but if they are here in the room, then I think it's fine. All right, what, you have something else?
Under public comment, it's right above the commission shall give all public comments the weight they are due, which I think was added, which I think is a good thing. The statement before that, it says the commission nor staff is not obligated to respond to neither the commission, or is not obligated to respond to. Find that? It was farther down that little public comment.
What comment period?
I know the section you're talking about, I'm just trying to find it in the writing so I can,
It's on
Okay.
page
Purpose of
14.
providing testimony maybe, but are not
The commission-
required
I
to
got
be
it.
offered
Yep,
during the
midway
hearing as
down.
an applicant.
Anyway, I thought it was just an awkward statement. The commission nor staff is not obligated to respond.
yeah, there's,
I thought maybe we could change this to neither the commission or staff is obligated to respond.
Yeah,
Take
that-
the two negatives out.
that not, yeah, there's a double
like a
negative in there.
double Negative type
Yep,
thing in
you're
there.
correct.
Okay.
I actually had a question around that too. So
Mhm.
it says the commission shall give all public comments the weight they are due.
Mhm.
And my immediate reading of that was, what does that mean? And how do I know that I'm giving the public comment the weight that it's due?
Well, each member has to sort of decide that for themselves. I can tell you that statement is something we've heard council say in these meetings before. When the questions arise, it's, say you have a situation, I'm gonna just create a situation that I don't think has ever happened here, but I'm just gonna make it up a hypothetical. Say you've got a rezoning application in front of you and some resident who we've never seen before, who's from Reynoldsburg, I'm just picking the place out, that comes and wants to speak to it. What does someone in Reynoldsburg have to really say input on a development in Genoa Township? So we have to let them speak. They're technically a member of the public. Public doesn't mean just residents of Genoa Township. Public means the public, so anybody, anywhere. But keep in mind that they live in Reynoldsburg, and as far as we know, have no relationship to Genoa Township or that project whatsoever, so give it the weight that it's due. So that's sort of the context of the explanation.
All right.
And then you can apply that to all the different scenarios, but that's the line of thought.
Okay. Yeah, it just seemed kind of broad as I was thinking about.
Yes,
like,
it is,
how
it's
do-
very broad.
How do I make sure that I'm giving it the weight that it's due? But yeah, I tend to key in on words, so.
No, that's an excellent question, actually.
Well, I think it's nice that, I mean, the intent of, what the public has to say is important. It is also, that's, I'm reading it, but it is kind of open-ended a little bit, because some people may weigh up more than others, but
Right.
like you
Or
say,
if
I don't know
somebody-
how we could define it
Right,
without
or-
getting really wordy.
Or if someone's making like a logical argument, do you give that no weight even if they're a resident? Like, that's the kind of thing where, that's the feeling I get when I read it is, how do you measure that? And again, my line of work, I'm very interested in measuring KPIs and things like that to make sure we're meeting what we're required to meet. And to me, it just seems kind of vague from a standpoint of understanding my role as being on the commission and making sure I'm doing that properly.
Or even more locally, so you got a project in the northwest, or no, let's say northeast quadrant of the township, and someone from the southwest quadrant speaks
Right.
about it, and it's like, well, give it the weight because they're a resident, but they don't live next to the site, so,
Right.
you may give more weight to the person who lives immediately adjacent to the property than you would someone who lives 5 miles diagonally as the crow flies away from it. Does that make sense?
Sure, yeah.
I just had two other comments.
Mm-hmm.
Evidently, we're allowed to go to executive session if the panel and the chairman agrees. I know we've never, I've never known
That would probably be something, I think that is in there.
it is, yeah,
17.
yeah.
I think there'd be very rare circumstance. That'd be one of those things I would not do it unless you had an attorney present.
Okay. Yeah. The other thing, I mentioned the budget. Does the lawyer come out of our budget and when the lawyer's here for those zoning cases?
So the zoning department, as part of the zoning department has its own line item for legal and accounting fees. that's part of the general fund that the board appropriates money to every year. So that's where, like, when Mr. Griggs is here, that's what's paying for that.
Okay.
So there's not a specific zoning commission line item in the budget, but there is for the zoning department, the use of legal services. So that's how we charge it.
I'm just curious, I couldn't think of anything we would need money for, but I was just curious if there was an example.
Correct. And as we learned during the Hoover, yeah, I was going to say, as we learned during the Hoover overlay, that you would have to have the board's blessing to expend any of those funds. They have to appropriate them to you and then for you to spend.
I had also a question. In the section Powers, Authority, and Duties of the Commission,
What page?
it's page 4. There's the last thing on Powers, Authority, and Duties of the Commission. It says, "The chair may modify or overrule any request made of staff by a commission member when such request pertains to commission business." To me, it sounds like that the chair would have more, like, if I ask you, like, hey, could you maybe look into something? I feel like it would be better if there's like a vote or something on it instead of like the chair having the power to just making that decision, because, I mean, then he can overrule any request that is made by a member.
Yeah, so it gets difficult because obviously, and we run into this with the trustees, I work for the board, but I don't work for any individual trustees. So really for me, for the township to do anything, it takes some action of majority of the board of trustees. It's sort of the same line of thinking here with the commission. I don't work for any individual commission member. I work for the commission as a whole. So if someone makes a request, hey, I want this for the entirety of the commission, well, you really can only speak for yourself. You can't speak for the whole commission. We can't do we generally can't do voting via email like that because that you run the risk of running afoul of the sunshine laws. I can straw poll sometimes, but usually I only like to straw poll if we're looking at like, hey, do you have a date free for a special meeting? That kind of straw polling is okay, but if we start talking about stuff that could impact policy, I prefer staying away from that, doing the straw polling thing. So the chairs and pretty much all the boards have that same kind of discretion of, they do, and that's one of the, the benefits of being the chairs. Yeah, they do sort of have a final say. Now, typically what will happen is in a board meeting, say the chair, someone makes a request, the chair says, no, Joe, I don't want you spending your time on that. I don't think the commission needs to see that. At the next meeting, you all could come to the meeting and say, no, we would like to see that. And if a majority of the group wants to see it, then you basically make a motion, you override the chair. So that's the checks and balance that comes into play there.
I get it, just like makes it a bit confusing, because then it gives a lot of power to the chair in this first instance, is all I'm saying. In my opinion, it would be better if it's majority vote, because mostly it's us here deciding on if we want you guys to do something, and we mostly talk about it anyway, so.
Well, here is one thing, it's more of this is put in for the request, if it's an email or a phone call, and it's not during the commission piece.
Correct.
Yeah,
But if it's a request that you're making
Yeah,
in here, then
yeah, but
the board as a whole would override.
it doesn't say that if it's here, or,
No.
I mean, it
Because I
could
thought,
also
like,
be here.
Let's say Sebastian says, hey, Joe, I want you to run numbers on this, and you go, I don't want you to spend your time doing that.
Yep.
So you can overrule him, but then can the vote, like the other, say all the other members say, well, I'd like to know those numbers.
Well, no, but if we did that in here, we would have it as a discussion.
Okay,
If Sebastian, we'll just use it, not saying this happened, but if you emailed and said, I want all this stuff, and it would be like 30 hours of work for him, it was like, no, don't do that right now.
okay.
We come in here, we have the discussion, we decide that's what we want to do, and then we can.
And
go over it
typically,
from there.
I mean, I get those requests, and you typically, Mr. Left's not gonna see all of them. If you guys just call me or email me, individually, he's not gonna see that. I would only bring it to his attention if I feel like it could be germane to the commission as a whole, or if I have a concern about it, I will defer to the chair, because again, it's a very, the dynamic between myself and the commission is unique. I very much, I do a lot of work for you, but I don't work for you, if that makes any sense. So, and that's what the chair helps to dictate is what work is appropriate for Joe to be doing for the commission, and is there work that someone may ask Joe to do that may be of concern or at odds with maybe something else the commission member wants. So, what if I get one commission member that says do this and one commission member who says don't? Well, what do I do? So that's why someone ultimately has to make that decision for the commission as a whole, and that's one of the reasons the chair position exists. But again, whatever the chair decides is mostly, almost all the time, subject to overrule by a vote of, the body will always trump the one individual, though.
Wouldn't it
That's
be,
allowable. For instance, if there was, I mean, we've never had that situation.
Correct.
We've all seen you all together on this, but if something came up, you could say, well, then I'd like to make a motion to do this. Okay, great.
I mean, we could put a qualifier in there if you want to say subject to
or
a
just put-
majority vote of the commission.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's better.
I see what you're saying, though, because you, as written, it sort of is almost like unilateral authority, and that part about being overridden
Well,
isn't in there.
Yeah, then you get like maybe I'm not saying that David is gonna do this, but this is gonna be most likely in here for a little while, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, so let me,
State it as, well, vote of a majority, but we're gonna have to qualify that to a meeting, right? So we don't say we can, so we can't have a
Right.
vote non-meeting time for sunshine. Do we need to state that emphatically or not?
yeah, I'm drafting up right now, so I was just gonna write, subject to being overruled by a majority vote of the commission during a public meeting.
During a vote?
How's that sound good?
That's
Sounds good.
fine.
So that,
Like that.
that puts that checks and balances into place. Yeah.
Well, we're on that page.
Mm-hmm.
So one question I had, second paragraph, commission members shall furnish the Genoa Township staff and other members with a telephone number and address, and if available, an email address at which notice of meetings and all other commission business may be communicated, served on, or mailed to such members. Now, I know the staff has all that information, but personally, I don't think I've ever given my phone number or address or anything else to the members of the commission. So that's, and it says, and other members. So I read that as
Yeah, we
it's
actually don't
commission
need
members.
that.
Yeah,
That's vestigial, probably,
Okay.
language that we can just take out.
because to me, the way I was looking at it, especially with public records requests, if it's in the procedures that everybody has their contact information, then you would assume, oh, well, they must have their cell phone, or their phone number, their address. But even in like the current situation, I get the emails from staff, and I may have access to your emails through the staff emails if I needed it, but there's no other form of contact.
No, you're right, there's no need for that
Yeah.
language to be in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything else?
That's just a typo on the last page.
Oh, I missed one?
19, well, and maybe it's not a typo, I was rereading it, it was just a little, the wording was a little strange
Okay.
to me. It is best practice for the commission to review and subsequently at the regular meeting held during the month of April in each calendar year, or as soon as practical, and maybe that's just it, it's just wordy, as needed.
Oh,
Yeah, it just seems like there's something missing within that as far as it's best practice for the commission to review and subsequently at the regular meeting held during the month of April in each calendar year as soon as practical,
oh yeah, there's something
and
odd
subsequently
there.
amend them. Like, it's talking about the rules of procedure review, but it just doesn't seem like it's worded.
I think there's supposed to be a these rules after the word review.
Okay.
It's best practice, it is a little run-on though, so let's see. It is best practice for the commission to review these rules and subsequently comment. The regular meeting held during the month of April in each calendar year or as soon as practical. Amend them accordingly, maybe we don't need them subsequently.
Yeah, you
Maybe,
don't need-
we
you
probably
don't
need two
sub-
sentences is what we need.
Yeah, you
Right.
also don't need two.
At the regular
subs-
meeting.
Two subsequentlies.
Correct.
I used to do this for work all the time, so.
No, I have a habit
3 hours.
of writing some wordy run-on sentences sometimes. And
No, not
because-
you, Joe.
I know, crazy, right? And sometimes my fingers don't keep up with my brain, so let's see here. How can we word this in a better way? All right, so review
So,
these
and
rules at the
I think
regular
it's-
meeting.
I think it's best for
Take
the,
out the first subsequently.
Yep, I got
Yep.
that.
Go ahead.
well, yeah, so it's best practice for the commission to review these rules at the regular meeting held during the month of April in each calendar year, or as soon as practical.
And then there needs to
And
probably be a
subsequently
news-
amend them as needed. The proceeding shall not preclude the commission from reviewing and amending these rules at other times. So yeah, it's really just getting rid of that subsequently and adding these rules. That's the,
Okay, so
that's
keep the
gap.
second and subsequently, but
Yep, yep.
eliminate the first.
Mhm.
It is a best practice for the commission to review these rules of procedure at the rate, so you're taking out and subsequently, at the regular meeting held during the month of April in each calendar year or as soon as practical, and subsequently amend them as needed,
Period.
period.
Got it.
That reads better.
Yep,
Yeah, that was.
yep, that's it. That's all the things I noticed.
Order and safety, I just want to like ask, like, how are we, this is page 18. Like, I mean, there's also now there, like, applause and stuff, and we know that this happens quite a bit here. I'm just saying, like, how do we convey this to the public? Like, I mean, are they able to see this document?
It is a public document. You know, we don't keep a copy of it sitting at the front of the room, but it is posted on the website, and anyone who asked for it, we would furnish.
Should we maybe make a statement before public here, comment, and like that these things are not encouraged to happen? I'm just,
We've done that a little bit in the past, but only prior to hearings where we felt like there was a high likelihood of things possibly, you know, when the hearings have been more passionate, and we felt like we needed to set the ground rules a little more clearly. I mean, you can, I just don't know how much you want to read and be stating at each meeting or before each hearing.
My guess is the applause thing will continue regardless of that it's in
I
here.
think so too. but-
Yeah. And again, it's just public forum, so you're gonna get those reactions. And so, I don't know if,
And I don't know if he's gonna necessarily, whoever the chair is gonna gavel every time the audience applauses. I think the goal is if the applause draws on and who's ever up here starts trying to talk and they can't talk because people have decided they're just gonna keep clapping, then I think that's the point where
right,
the speaker would probably gavel and, you know, have to try to get the room back under control and sort of bring up to the point that it's not a permitted behavior.
Another thought would be just to post this above the sign-up sheet. I mean, at least it's covered there, not that anybody's
Just
gonna
this
read it.
section?
Yeah.
We could do that.
Well, I mean, because then it's there,
Mhm.
and I don't know if people read it or not, but at least it's out there, and then the chair could say, per the sign you may have seen when you signed up, we're not allowed to, you know, because it gets a little heated in here sometimes. you know.
It does.
And we probably, most of us have been on both sides of
Mm-hmm.
this fence here.
Yeah, I don't mind if I can post
That's-
this, or if you want me to do a little cheat sheet, because there's some other stuff throughout the rest of this document that might be of relevance, but, yeah. We can do that.
The
I
meeting-
think a
the Meetings
quick,
seem to be going pretty well lately, for the most part.
The other thing we could do is, well, it actually might be, we'll use more paper and ink, but we could also put it on the agenda document, because that's already sitting up there, so we could just print it on the backside of the agenda or on the second page of an agenda.
That's a thought.
And then that way whoever has an agenda could read it.
That's fine.
It's kind of like you don't want to say all this stuff ahead of time. It's kind of negative, kind of.
right.
But on the other hand,
Correct.
it's a good point to be brought up that those are the specific rules.
We also don't need to read a script for 10 minutes before.
Right, exactly, yeah. Okay. And you can't sneeze, you
yeah.
have to turn your phone off. you know,
So, yeah,
da-da-da-da-da.
let's post it,
Ho-
either do the agenda or post it for the next meeting.
I
and
think
we'll
it
see
probably,
what
the
happens.
easiest thing is probably just to put the the relevant sections on the agenda, like as a supplemental
Yeah.
page.
Okay.
Mr. Benson, can you think of any reason that won't work?
Okay. Good changes.
Yeah, I like those ideas.
Do we need a formal motion to adopt, or?
Do you want to adopt, or you want me to
You
draft
wanna
up the
get a clean
changes
copy?
first, or?
Get a clean copy and then adopt from there?
Yeah, the good thing about this document is its adoption is much less formal than that of a zoning resolution, so.
And there's no hurry. It's not like somebody's waiting on us.
So just get you a clean copy for the May meeting then?
Copy from the next meeting, and we'll.
Will do.
Put a motion on there. Okay, great. Public comment? Anybody? No? Going once, going twice, closed? Any other updates?
Congratulations to Mr. Leff for being reappointed.
Indeed.
Congratulations to Mr. Wester for not only coming to his first meeting, but getting to sit as a voting member during the first meeting.
Congratulations. I can hear him talking. Glad we didn't have something with more meat on the bones for you today.
The only thing I was gonna bring up is, so I'll give you some update on the stuff the trustees are doing. They did have their first hearing for the multi-sound studios. It got continued to the board's regular meeting in May. The board, wasn't 100% on board with the parking divergence, so they've asked the applicant to go back to the drawing board and see if they can squeeze in a few more parking spaces as part of that phase 2, and then reword the divergence slightly to match it. But other than that, I feel like the general concept, seems to be acceptable to the board. They just wanted to see some revisions to that parking divergence. And then the board's hearing on the amendments to the comp plan and the zoning resolution, they technically opened the hearing last month, but they didn't have any discussion on it. They immediately continued it to April 20th. So the substantive presentation and public comment period will be on the 20th. That's next Thursday. I think it's the 20th. Let me check my calendar here. I don't want to misstate it on the record and then get people confused later. Yes, Thursday, the 20th. I did get it correct. So that'll be at 6:30 here in the hall. Other than that, so with, I guess, picking up on the zoning resolution amendment discussion, as we have talked about previously, we always knew that there'd be more amendments that came after this one that specifically dealt with the density. I'm drafting up a boatload of stuff for you to consider. I'm not saying we'll do all of it, but I'm working on some stuff. If you have something specific or even an idea that you want to send to me to just put on a list, I'm not sure I'll be able to draft it up, but at least I can start warehousing everyone's thoughts and ideas. And if you want, I could even email the trustees and the BZA to see if they have any stuff they want to send me, because I want to at least get a running list and everything drafted up, and then we can pick and choose what we ultimately decide we want to put forward as part of an amendment, but at least get it drafted up, something on paper for the purposes of discussion or for weeding through. So is there
anything upcoming similar to what we did to do signs years ago on for the Supreme Court piece? Is there anything?
The
that's
only
pending?
latest thing, not that I'm aware of in terms of case law, the only thing that's just recently popped out there was the state legislature just passed some new rules that implemented some things regarding solar farms. Fortunately, Brochus Johnson and Griggs has sample language now prepared for all of that and emailed it out to a whole bunch of individuals, us included. So I already have their sample language on that. We'll probably have to, reformat it to fit the structure of our resolution, but that's really the only thing I'm aware of out there from a state law kind of standpoint.
If I remember correctly, that was strictly for solar farms, so ground-based, based over a certain wattage, not rooftop for homes.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else coming up on that one? Have you heard?
On attached, no, I haven't heard anything on any of the residential. I know the legislature was also looking at taking away our ability to regulate Airbnbs, but I don't know, or not Airbnbs, but vacation rentals, I should say. But I don't know if that ever got, I think the last year's legislature was looking at that, and then nothing happened. I'm not sure they've
There was
picked up
something
that ball
about
again.
potentially superseding HOA rules that negated the ability to put solar on?
I'd have to look into that.
Can you ask Brochus and see if there's anything that's come up with that?
Regarding HOAs and stuff.
If the HOA rules, the bylaws in place in HOAs that prohibited that. 'Cause there was talk about the Ohio legislature putting something in place that automatically said you can't
Okay,
regulate that. If somebody wants to put it on their house, they can put it on their house.
yeah, I'll look into that. Obviously it is related to zoning, so yeah, I'll take a look at that.
All right, so if you got any ideas, put a list together.
You just send me an email. I'll probably share them with Chairman Leff, just so I'm not the only one who's warehousing all of it. And then that way he and I can start talking about it, or whoever the chair is. I don't know. Yeah, I just say Mr. Leff because he's the current chair, but whoever the chair is, is probably who will pass all that stuff to.
Is there a goal that we will speak on this next time, or like what is the goal for getting this together?
To start his new amendments?
Yes.
I don't know if I have a
For the draft- For the
timeline.
draft language right now, or just
Well,
our
no,
list?
I'm talking about the changes to the zoning resolution, if, like, whatever we bring up to Joe.
It'd be my opinion that we would not touch it until the trustees complete the current one. and
Okay,
adopt it.
that's fine.
So once they vote on it, then we've got the 30-day window, and then I think the following meeting, we should be able to start
Yeah, okay.
talking from there at that point.
And I'll probably have a discussion with whomever the chair is at that point about strategy on how we would want to roll out any subsequent amendments and sort of what we feel like is priority and not priority. Because, what I have drafted up is a lot, and it may be too much to do in just one singular amendment. So it might be another one of those where we decide we're going to somehow chunk out or prioritize, 1, 2, 3 kind of thing of the stuff we really want to get to and the stuff that'd be like, yeah, we'll get to it eventually, but it's not a crisis.
If you have a list a mile long, we might have to
Well,
have a couple meetings. It's okay.
I already talked to Joe about a few things, but,
Okay.
yeah, I'll just read through it and
Okay.
send him my notes.
As you have mentioned stuff in the past, I've tried to remember it or jot it down, but it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to resend it to me in case I
Okay, yeah,
missed
for
it or
sure.
forgot.
Make anything else?
No, sir. Nope.
Got a motion?
A motion to, what is it? Adjourn, a motion to adjourn. I move to adjourn the meeting.
Have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Good. Meeting is 7:36. Meeting is adjourned.